right, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development. And the reason I started this podcast, the reason I'm out here doing this is because I want to provide an experience, for someone listening out there that maybe is going through a struggle right now, went through a struggle in the past. Maybe they're just going through life right now. And what I'm trying to provide is basically the experience that they can listen to this podcast and think, damn, man, no matter what I'm going through, I'm not alone. This guy, or maybe someone that he talks to, or someone that he talks about, maybe someone else understands what I'm going through. And maybe life can and will get better. And that's the kind of the experience that I'm trying to give to people. And so, as you can see, if you've watched this stuff before, if you're watching the video of this, I got a new setup, and I got a little bit more. I got a couple episodes that I already had recorded before I got this set up, so you'll probably see a couple there. But I wanted to put this one out before that because I wanted to kind of address some of the things that, and Zach and I discussed this in the episode that we just posted together. But I wanted to just kind of chat about some of these things, in a way that is the most non-partial. It's the most, and I don't want to get into the politics of all this bullshit. I want to talk about this from like kind of a source or kind of from a sense, more surrounding like mental health and self-development and kind of just, how we can learn from this. Because I just don't want to bitch about these things anymore. And I don't want to get like too politically divisive because I really just don't think that that's effective or positively impacting people in regards to their mental health. So we can talk politics another time. If you want to talk about politics, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. We'll we'll get into it in the DMs, but that's not what I want to talk about today. So what I want to talk about today is the great divide that we're having right now. And I've talked about this before, but I kind of want to just cover this in every topic possible so that I can kind of just set it straight for the record. So let's go along with this journey and try and, regardless of what side you're on, you might be uncomfortable or you might not like the things I say today because I kind of am shots fired in all directions. That's the way I'm feeling, right? I just want to basically be able to. Well, here's the thing. I'll start it off by just saying that. I think that we just need to have the ability to have these discussions. And I think that we've lost that in so many ways. And I'm going to kind of go over some of the ways that I think that we've lost that. And I think that I'm going to go over some of the solutions or at least maybe just raise awareness for those things, right? And so I'm just going to have a little sip of coffee here. And anyways, so if you haven't heard recently, or if you're from Canada or if you're from a state that's kind of similar to Canada in the sense that how your government's responding to the pandemic, the COVID 19 pandemic, if you're in Canada, you definitely know about kind of the truckers' protests going on right now. You definitely know about, all the different lockdowns that we've had. And, as a result of the truckers' protest, there's a lot of, I'm going to just say that this is a result of the protest because it's not really being spun that way in the media. But, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. A week into the protests or 10 days or whatever it was, we had provinces start to announce that they're going to drop all of the COVID mandates, surrounding masks and vaccine passports, etc. Probably by the end of this month, which is February 2022 right now. We're about just over 2 years deep of this stuff. So, and I think that is definitely like a direct result of the truckers and the convoy and the protests going on. If you don't know about what's going on, get your head out from under whatever rock you're under, hit Google or DuckDuckGo, whatever search engine you use. Go and look up that truckers convoy if you have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you do know what I'm talking about, you understand that, not all heroes wear capes. Some of them wear flannel jackets or blue collars, right? And it's amazing to see this kind of unity surrounding this movement. especially with how the media has tried to run like kind of a smear campaign. And I guess that's the very first thing we can chat about today. And we've seen this in many different protests in the last couple years. Aside from ones that just turned out to be riots, which I don't know what you think about those, but it's not just these mandates that we've seen this kind of discussion around, like how someone is protesting. And so there was a lot of people that were pissed off, when Colin Kaepernick was taking his knee during the national anthem in the States, and they were pissed about how he was protesting. And then, as well, you've seen like kind of people protest all these mandates, and you've seen how people kind of complain about how they're protesting as well. And so I just bring up those two examples because it kind of seems like, from the outside perspective, that those are two protests that happen on kind of like the opposite sides of the political spectrum, right? And I'm not going to, like I said, I don't want to go into the politics of everything today, but I just kind of see people that, because they maybe, they're aligned with one idea, and because of that, they pick an entire ideology. They're like, okay, I'm a definite, left winger, or I'm a definite right winger, whatever it is, wherever your fucking politics lie, or whatever party you align with, whatever it is. You guys all know what I'm talking about. Like, once you kind of pick one idea, you're like, okay, I'm going to align with this entire, ideology, and I'm going to move in lockstep with it. That's a term that Zach taught me. I listened to his podcast, and I learned that term there. So, we kind of pick one idea, whether it's on abortion, whether it's on, vaccine mandates, whether it's on defunding the police, whether it's on whatever it is, legalizing marijuana, or you name it. You pick one political thing, and then your values align with that entire, side of the political spectrum, or that entire party, or that entire leader. And then we just move in lockstep with that. So if people weren't really fans of Black Lives Matter, when Colin Kaepernick made his protest, instantly, regardless of what he said, regardless of what he was standing for, people were jumping at how he was protesting. There's like, okay, if he was saying anything else, or if he was protesting in any other way, it'd be perfectly fine. And then we see this again with like kind of like the mandates with the vaccines and protests. So basically what I'm trying to say is like, we get so cemented into one side of the spectrum. And that's kind of what helps cause this great divide that I'm talking about. But then once that happens, it creates an inability to even communicate with the other side, because any way that they try and communicate seems unacceptable. And those are words directly quoted from our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, unacceptable values, right? Just because they didn't align with his. So acceptable would have to align with his. That's basically what that means. If you didn't know what that word means, but now you do. And so yeah. Because everything's so quick, because on social media everything's so quick. You see all these protests. Like, everyone has to instantly fucking pick a side. And you have to pick the same side that you picked of everything else already. And so there's no real gray areas. Like, there's no way. I mean, there is. But seemingly right now, there is no gray area. Because there truly is a gray area. It's not like, you're going to feel the same way about everybody on one side just because you align with a few of their values. Like, that is the most inhuman thing I've ever fucking heard. Like, we all understand how different we all think, and we all have different experiences. We all have different perspectives, and so it's impossible for all of us to align with everything. So just like that idea of just kind of cementing yourself into one ideology is just insane. And, this fucking happens. I've had to, and Zach and I were talking about this. Like, sometimes you have to question yourself. Like, do I really stand for this, or am I just looking for some unity? Am I just looking to feel like I'm a part of a movement, or am I just looking for a purpose? Like, is this kind of like me reaching at, grasping at straws, right? And so, yeah. And that's how we get so divided, right? And So then now we've seen kind of people be divided. Not only like we've seen this started from like 5-10 years ago, but like we've started to get like divided by like gender. Well, I guess we've always been kind of divided by gender, by ethnicity, by nationality, wherever your parents were from, by your skin color. Like this is how, we're just right now we're so taught to just divide everything. Like we have to look at people differently because of, who they sleep with, or racially divided, or if they wear a mask in public or not, or if they fucking think that everyone should legally have to be vaccinated with every single, medicine that the government decides, or who can and can't shop in businesses, right? And so we've created this massive divide. And I say we because, the government can do whatever they want, but, at the end of the day, we choose how we treat other people in society. When we come into contact with them, every single interaction that we have with someone, we're in control of that. And I don't think that it's really a viable excuse. Like if you read history at all and the atrocities that have happened during World War II, I don't think it's a viable excuse to just say that you were just doing your job or just following orders. In fact, I've never heard someone fucking do the right thing and then just say, oh, I was just following orders from my boss. Typically the right thing takes, some thought, some conscientious thinking, because the right thing is usually a difficult thing to do. So, something to think about as well. Because the easy decision isn't always the right thing to do. And, so anyways, once these events happen, trying to get back into my train of thought here. Once these events happen, we act in lockstep because we are so scared of having people see us not make the decision or not take a stance on something. So when something happens, we feel this pressure that we have to speak publicly on it. Like we have to post our stance on it immediately. And, this is the dumbest thing ever, because if you think about it, like if an event happens on a small scale, like, and there's just like a few people involved, even those, like, say if there's like an event that happens and it involves like 3 people, those 3 people are going to have very different kind of recollections of what happened. And if they go ahead and tell like 3 other people each, so like 9 other people, then think about how all of those perspectives get skewed and how much new information comes out after we check out the event, whatever happened, etc. So I just think that this feeling that we need to impulsively just make a stance or make a decision on, what we think about an event, like it's like the accuracy of what you think happened is going to increase over time as more information comes out. So I just feel like, and I'm victim to this as well. I shouldn't say victim. I do this. I'm a perpetrator of this as well, where, something happens and then instantly, because of some, pre-existing beliefs or pre-existing notions, what we think about something, we instantly make a decision like, hey, I either fucking hate this or I really, really support this. And I think we could all benefit from just taking maybe a little bit more time of just evaluating this situation and just kind of thinking about it, what you really think. And then also allowing for more, new and accurate information to come out. Right? That's kind of how we do science experiments. That's how we're taught them in elementary school or in fucking high school, is to just make a hypothesis, test it out, and then see the results, and then share the results with others. But clearly that's not how we do science anymore. But anyways, because we feel this pressure to kind of make a decision or have a stance on something instantly. We're so scared of being wrong. We're so scared of having to correct ourselves. We're so scared of, if I say this thing, I'm going to be held accountable for it. This has to be the hill that I die on. Like kind of, I feel like we all feel that way right now. We feel like if we say anything, then that's the end all and be all, and that's, I think like, hey, if I say this thing on this podcast, then that's the end all be all. And everybody listening thinks that that's what Mark thinks. But, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to, think about something. And even if you put a lot of thought into it, it's okay that if new information comes out later, or you change your mind because you were granted a new perspective, maybe you had a conversation with someone on the other side of the fence, heaven forbid, and they fucking literally convince you that, maybe your stance is the wrong stance, or maybe it's just like 60% there, and they re-guide you to a new destination, whatever it could be. They just kind of cradle you into the truth. But, I think we're so scared. We feel this massive pressure to make a stance. And then once we make that stance, we're so scared we cement ourselves into that. And then we're so scared of being wrong. We're so scared of, correcting ourselves later. And talk about ego. That's the purest form of ego right there. And so how do we kind of solve that? Like I said, I want to try and actually give some sort of an actionable step. How do we try and solve that? Well, the first part of it is just having some empathy, having the understanding that, every single human that you interact with most likely has different events happen to them, had different perspectives, different thoughts, different things that, they could teach you about. And coming from a stance where, when you speak to someone, they might be able to teach you something. Whether you agree with them on 100% of things or 1% of things, whatever it is, if you could find that common ground and just be able to have an empathetic conversation where you are talking to them and you want the best for them and you believe truly that they want the best for you, because if we don't want the best for each other, society's fucked. But, if you have that kind of a conversation with someone, even if you don't agree with them on everything, you just kind of have it. You have a conversation where you just want to find the truth or you want to find common ground. Then we can have some more of these conversations, because as of right now, we're not even able to talk about if masks are effective without like a stigma around it. Like, oh, you're not supportive of this, or you don't care about others. The same could be said about, natural immunity to viruses. The same could be said about like alternative medicines. The same could be said about, even the fact that some people, and this is astonishing to me that this is even controversial to fucking say in the first place, that some people have had injuries due to this vaccine. I'm not saying it's a massive amount. I'm not saying that whatever. I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just saying that we can't even have the discussion that some people have dealt with that. And in fact, when they even openly talk about it, these are vaccinated people that talk about some of the things that they've experienced due to getting vaccinated, or maybe around the same time. Maybe it's not even true, but we're not even able to have the fucking conversation. So no one's even able to correct them. And this is what creates these echo chambers on social media, where people feel like they can't have these discussions in open areas. So you see these massive groups on Facebook that get started and canceled. They've got thousands and thousands of people that feel like they just can't even discuss their perspectives or can't even ask these questions. And if we were just able to have these discussions in an open forum, and have like, without these fucking stupid fact checkers and blah, 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 like all these warning fucking labels on a post, like maybe if we could just have open and authentic conversation, again, heaven fucking forbid, we would be able to have experts come on that aren't being paid by fucking politicians or media sources, etc. You could just have these types of people come on and just be able to have the debate, and everyone would be able to listen in, and we would see the truth. We would see the truth unravel in real time right in front of our eyes. And then we wouldn't have to make these stupid pressured decisions and stances. And, maybe that would help destigmatize these types of conversations, and maybe it would also help the truth come out faster. And I mean, if you don't like the truth, you're going to have a tough go at life. So that's my little rant. Maybe maybe I'm completely out to lunch right now. Maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about. And if that's the case, tell me I'm wrong. Maybe we should have an interview. Maybe we could sit down, because I got a couple mics set up now. I can actually host proper interviews in person. So, I just thought that this was kind of important. I wanted to release this episode before I release my next couple episodes, just because I feel like this kind of topic, this is something that's weighing heavy on my mind. And, people have kind of messaged me and they're like, I thought you talked about mental health. Why are you getting into all this stuff? Because I'll be 100% honest. If you are telling yourself that this, last couple years whether you agree with the mandates and the restrictions or not, you'd have to be lying to yourself and me and everyone around you if you think that this hasn't impacted your mental health or anyone's mental health around you. I think we've all been deeply impacted by this. If not yet, then definitely in the future, because this divide that we're seeing in society, the fact that we can't even fucking have conversations with each other anymore, the fact that some people think that words are literal violence, the fact that, if you have a different opinion than your fucking leader of your prime minister, your leader of the country, like you have unacceptable values. The fact that you could be fighting for the equality of everybody and people are still going to fucking make you out to be a supremacist of some sort. Look, there's bad apples in every single bunch. And we see that in every single group. And when there's bad politicians, we don't throw all of them out either. Right? There's bad cops, and I guess, people do some people want to throw all of them out, but there's a beautiful phrase that I think rings true, and it's called throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I think that without having these discussions, you might not know that there's a baby in the bathwater. So I just want to increase the communication around this kind of stuff. I just want people to be able to talk about these things without fear of being judged or, losing their job or, losing anything else in their lives. Like, we should just be able to have these conversations. And it's a scary place to be when you can't have these types of conversations. Because I remember growing up, I literally remember growing up and having my grade 4 teacher, I was complaining about some of the stuff, and obviously I knew nothing about politics at the time, but I remember her kind of explaining to me that, in other areas of the world, in other countries in the world, like, you can't openly speak about things you don't agree with. You can't, you'll be put in jail. Or worse, and you can use your imagination on that, but we've heard about these other countries in the world. We've heard about different times of the world, like maybe different times in the same society that we live in. And, I'm not a historian. I'm not a fucking, I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but I know I don't want to live in a time or a place like that. So that's why I think that it's important to have these discussions and just be able to have, a platform to do so. And that's why I'm thankful that I have a podcast, because, right now that's really my only platform that is completely uncensored, unregulated, because even on like YouTube or even on Instagram or anything like that, there is like kind of that fear. And that doesn't exist right now with podcasting. So make sure you follow along on the podcast, because that's where I'm definitely going to be able to keep talking. So that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. I feel like this has kind of gone on a little bit too long for what I wanted to cover, because I feel like what I wanted to cover was pretty basic, and I feel like you guys kind of understand that as well. So I just want to kind of set the record straight and just kind of let you guys know how I feel about these things, and then maybe that helps you out. Maybe that gives you a new perspective, a new way to think about it. And anything I need to remind you of? If you are wanting to join, that group that I've started recently, we have daily discussions on WhatsApp. We have weekly discussions on Zoom. I kind of write out a little agenda. We talk about different things. We get to kind of just chat about how everyone's week was. We go in depth on some different topics. But it all kind of basically surrounds mental health and self-development. And there's some cool motherfucking characters in this group, so you definitely want to join in. If you want to join, my Instagram will be at the bottom of this screen here if you're watching the YouTube version of this. If you're listening to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, please fucking rate 5 stars, leave a little review, but my Instagram will be in the show notes as well there. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, help a brother out, share the show, help me grow, and go out and fucking, have a good day, have a good week, have a good month, have a good year, no matter when you listen to this. And just kind of, like I said, when you have conversations with people, just take a second to think about, their perspective and think about, how you can act with the most amount of compassion and empathy and how we can kind of solve this divide. Because I think that, we shouldn't think about discussions as something that you have to win or lose. It should just be like kind of how we get to the truth. And I think that we just keep wanting to get like these kind of gotcha moments and win a fucking debate when really the point is just to kind of make life better for everybody. It's not to fucking make someone a loser or make someone out to be a winner. So if you do that kind of stuff, then you're the fucking loser, because real winners have to fucking get to the truth. So that's where I'm going to end it. Thank you so much for listening to this or watching this or supporting the show, however you choose to support the show. Right now, your options are share it, and that's how you can support. So share the show. Send this episode to somebody that you fucking think needs to hear it. Next time someone's talking about this kind of stuff, kind of just maybe bring up this show and just help me out building this platform. That's all I got. So thank you so much. Much love and peace out.